This is the Dream It Alive show. I'm your host, Ash Kumra, co-founder of DreamItAlive.com. DreamItAlive.com is a global community that's guiding you to create your dream life with visualization tools, dream boards, and helpful personal development content. Check it out at DreamItAlive.com, and why not take that next level to become the best version of yourself? So today's guest is really, really awesome. I really mean that. I've been following this person for a little while now, and I've been happy to say that she was able to do this interview. Jen Groover is what I feel represents what I call the modern day entrepreneur. She's a speaker, author, designer, television host, and media contributor, spokeswoman, innovator, advocate. Success Magazine has called her a one-woman brand, creativity and innovation guru. Entrepreneur Magazine has called her a leading serial entrepreneur. And why I call her this modern entrepreneur is that she knows how to use what I feel, aside from self-branding, the most important aspect for succeeding as an entrepreneur, which is leverage. She knows how to anticipate what society wants, what do you need to do to make it happen, and just go for it. I mean, I think the reason why she's been able to get so many opportunities is that she's been able to leverage one thing to get to another. I think what started off as the creation of the Butler bag, which was the world's first compartmentalized handbag, and using that to do all these other things. And by the way, she's also been given props by the United Nations. It's ridiculous. So like you guys, I am curious to learn how this successful person thinks, lives, and breathes successful entrepreneurship. So Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for that awesome, kind introduction.
Hey, no problem. Well, you truly deserve it. So Jen, why don't you tell us a little about your journey, how you got to where you are right now?
Well, it's really began when I was a kid, and I never really felt like I fit into the typical learning strategy amongst our curriculum in schools today. And I always wanted to break the rules, not in a bad way, but in a way that I would question why we just accept things for what they are instead of challenging how they could be different. And as a child, that seems more on the rebellious side, not conforming and playing by everybody's rules. And I never did it in a disrespectful way, but just in a beating to my own drum kind of way. And a lot of it I kept within myself. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this in common, where we all walk around the world thinking, why do I feel so different? Why do I feel like I'm not just conforming to what everybody else believes in and wants me to do? And so right out of college, I started my first business because I had a really big issue with growing as fast as somebody else said I could grow. And the thought of having a job and growing the way only at the pace that somebody said I was allowed to get a raise at was ludicrous to me. And I would have rather made less money and grow at the pace that I want to grow at than have somebody else limit my own growth and my own abilities and potential. And I couldn't articulate it as well back then, but I can definitely say that was the thought process within me. And when I started my first business right out of college, it was in the fitness industry, and I was just really passionate about fitness. And the industry was so young at that time period that there was not really an industry the way it exists today. And there wasn't clear guidelines or a pathway as to what you could do to provide for yourself financially or how to build your brand. But I just followed my passion and my beliefs and my intuition of what felt right. And that led me to very much where I am today. I did not have a traditional journey. I didn't stay in one industry, and I don't plan to ever. I think it's crazy that we've bought into this belief system that you have to be really good at one thing and just stick with that one thing for the rest of your life, when we as humans are capable of so many things. And quite honestly, that really goes against that belief system around school and curriculum and subjects. Every subject is isolated, where that's not reality about how we see and think about the world. So everything's connected. And if everything's connected, then why couldn't I be good at things from the fitness industry to fashion to sports entertainment, sports management to movies to tech ed and everything else that I'm doing today. And I think that other people's self-limiting beliefs get imposed upon us as we're growing up, and we start to buy into this belief system that, oh yeah, I guess I should follow this one path and stay within this box and the confines of somebody else's belief system. And I always refused to do it. I definitely had moments of doubt, for sure, and moments of what's wrong with me, and those moments of am I severely ADHD, and why do I seem like I can't just focus on one thing? And quite honestly, with all the research I've done in human potential, I don't think we're supposed to just focus on one thing. And I think we can be good at a lot of different things with a lot of different passions, and we can bring them together under one umbrella. Like for myself, my brand Empowered, I empower people through everything that I do. That's my common thread. I innovate in everything I do. That's another common thread. So if I know how to innovate, why would I have to only innovate in one industry? That seems really limiting, right? Yeah. And so, it's really been a non-traditional, unconventional journey of really just building one skill set onto the next and the next and the next, and following my passion and my intuition along that path.
I love that, and I got 2 words for you. Or actually, I got several words for you. Jen Gruber for president. Wow, you're very motivating. That was
Thanks.
That was awesome. But all jokes aside, one of the things you talked about is getting rid of those self-limiting beliefs. How do you stay grounded and not have those self-limiting beliefs? Do you do meditation? Do you do visualization? Do you do goal setting? Like, I want to understand the psyche of how you live and how you stay true to being this success machine constantly.
So I'm so glad you asked this question, and I like that you posed it as the psyche of, because one of the things I'm most passionate about in advocating is for each individual in our world to raise their level of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And I believe if we do that, we will instantly decrease obesity, decrease divorce, decrease pain and suffering, decrease bullying, decrease all of the negative things that we encounter on a daily basis, whether in our own personal lives or in the news. And we would instantly increase the economy, health and wellness, and every aspect of our lives. And that's really a critical thing. That is the psyche, it's a perspective, it's a belief system. It's a way of going about living in life that challenges old belief systems. So a lot of my time in meditation and reflection is challenging old belief systems and evaluating why do we look at that. One of my most earth-shattering perspectives that shifted for me was the realization that nothing in our life has meaning until we give it meaning. Nothing in my past has really had any meaning other than the meaning that I chose to give it. And then another shattering perception for me was my reality that everything that has meaning, somebody else gave it meaning. So everything else that has meaning, where there's certain rules and belief systems around how things are done in business and life, somebody else gave it that meaning. And unless those meanings are challenged by other people, we'll continue going down that consistent path. And if we don't challenge why things are the way they are, we'll struggle in innovation. And if we don't challenge around just because something worked or didn't work 10 years ago doesn't mean that it couldn't or could work today. And we don't constantly evaluate those processes. I, as an inventor, constantly get faced with that question. We tried this idea 7 years ago and it didn't work. And I will constantly say, well, the world was a different place 7 years ago than it is today. And if we aren't, as entrepreneurs, constantly sitting back and questioning the what ifs and the why nots, which is the title of my book for a very sound reason, then we're always going to get status quo. And and everything that exists in the belief systems and the rules that we function under are all interpreted by somebody else's life experiences. So who are we not to maybe have better equipped life experiences to bring a new interpretation or a new perspective to the table to truly innovate and be game changers?
I love that. Well, want to understand, so you've talked a lot about how you've overcome things. You've talked a lot about, the psyche of how you work. Everyone has that breakthrough moment when things aren't going well and you are like, okay, I'm going to make a shift. Or maybe things were going well, but you're just like, I'm not satisfied. That's fine too. Tell us about the first major breakthrough moment when you knew that you had to make a shift in your life.
So I believe that entrepreneurship is a journey of self-transformation.
Okay.
I believe that 99% of the entrepreneurs that are entrepreneurs are on this path to live their lives with fuller self-expression.
Right.
And in that, we have to identify our weaknesses and our self-limiting beliefs. We have to call ourselves out a lot more often than if we're hiding in a cubicle every day. And in that journey of self-transformation, the more we actually have breakthrough moments, the more we can reflect our own growth and shifts to the world. And so my shifts aren't going to necessarily go back to a shifting moment in business. My biggest breakthroughs actually happen in my personal life, which then reflect into my business. And that goes back to like the examples I've given with belief systems. So some of my breakthrough moments are always around challenging old belief systems and realizing that innovation isn't just professionally applied. Innovation is personally applied as well. And for example, when I launched the Butler Bag Company, I was filling a void for myself, which much innovation comes from. I was a new, sleep-deprived, overwhelmed mom of twins, and my life was completely disorganized and out of order, and I needed to find some sense of order in my life. And handbags are a direct extension of women's lives. And when I created this invention, it was something that I went through the same traditional process of self-limiting beliefs around, like, who am I to invent something? Who am I to call myself a designer? I didn't get a degree in design. I can't even draw a stick figure. And I started to impose these self-limiting beliefs upon myself. I don't have a degree in engineering. How could I call myself an inventor? But when I came up with the solution, it was very authentic and organic. It was in my dishwasher, and I took the dishwasher tray out and I stuck it in my handbag, and I realized that a handbag could be compartmentalized. And one of those breakthroughs that I think that you're asking for was we believed that we can't be something unless we have a degree in something. And I'm not diminishing degrees, but I am diminishing that belief system. That's not the truth. I invented a product in that moment that became a multi-million-dollar brand. And I didn't have a design degree, and I didn't have an engineering degree, and all the other things that were brainwashed really to think that we need in order to be successful. Yes, experience helps us to do things. Yes, education gives us a better sense of knowledge and resource, but it doesn't define your ability to actually create and innovate. And another part of that too was when I launched the Butler Bag Company, and I was creating my marketing and branding strategy, and so many people had talked about marketing, branding, and logos, and all these superficial things that I intuitively just knew weren't right about marketing and branding. And I realized that branding is really storytelling, authentically storytelling, and it's also emotionally connecting to other people so that we feel like, other people feel like, oh, I could be Jen. I could create something too. I've had problems like that before, but I never moved forward. And so it hit me that branding isn't all of these ethereal or all these tactical things that people have led us to believe. They're actually more ethereal, and they're more emotional, and they're more soft skills, which people don't want to identify soft skills as real valuable skills. But in my belief system, the soft skills like emotional intelligence and compassion and empathy and storytelling, they're actually the fundamental foundation of all people's success.
Okay. Now, there's so many thoughts that come from that answer that you gave. And, I want to segue to something that you talked about earlier about, how as an entrepreneur, you could do many things. So you had the successful handbag company. It put you on the map, quote unquote, among other things probably at the time. How did you use that success to do the other things that you're doing right now? Because, since then, you've done a myriad of things. I mean, your bio is insanely extensive. So how leverage and self-branding are some of the themes that I'm learning more and more are so apparent for successful dreamers, entrepreneurs to achieve success. What's your formula?
Yes, leverage. Leverage is critical, and leverage begins with, as I mentioned, the journey of self-transformation is calling yourself out on what you're good at and what you're not good at, and being honest about it, and not making excuses and feeling bad about it. So often as entrepreneurs, we try and do everything because we feel if we don't, it's a sign of weakness. And sometimes we do it in the beginning because we have to, financially, but often people continue to do it because they think it's weak to say, I can't do this, but it's actually weak to say you can't. Leverage is critical, and that's how I've scaled and been able to continue doing what I really love to do and not spend too much time in my life on things that I don't like to do. And that to me is freedom right there. And that's what we're all seeking, freedom. And freedom is defined individually, but freedom to me is waking up every day passionate about doing what I love and getting to focus on doing the skill sets and types of things I love to do and not getting bogged down by the things I don't like to do. And so I learned to acknowledge openly what I'm really good at and partner with people that are really good at what I'm not good at. And so I have a very partner collaborative business model, partner heavy, collaborative heavy. And so many people are afraid to trust people. And so they don't do that. So they limit their growth because they're not trusting of other people. And I'd rather trust people and potentially get burned than limit my growth. And I learned something by a spiritual mentor of mine that was really profound to me. And they said, this is about trust. And he said to me, if you trust yourself, when you finally get to a place that you trust yourself, you can trust everyone around you. And that really baffled me for a long time. Like, no, that's not possible. Like, someone could try and steal from me. Someone could take advantage of me. And what he meant by that is once we really trust ourselves, we allow our intuition to guide us. And if we look back at all those circumstances in life where we did get taken advantage of, our intuition already told us we were going to, but we didn't listen to our intuition. Therefore, we didn't trust ourselves. And once you trust yourself, your intuition can guide you into these types of relationships that are successful and beneficial to our professional and personal growth. And so leveraging myself happens in partnerships, collaborations on a project, maybe a project by project basis until a partnership might form, and licensing. Licensing to me is probably one of the most underplayed business cards and one of the most powerful in scaling, especially if you don't desire to have a 200 or 2,000 employee business, which I absolutely don't ever want to have. And so licensing allows me to have that power of a company with 200 or 2,000 employees without managing 200 or 2,000 employees.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I want to ask you, one, and hopefully two if we have time, but definitely one more question. And this is really geared for the younger version of yourself, the person who didn't hasn't launched that successful handbag company and hasn't had this insane journey. Understand the value of partnerships, both personally and business wise. If you had to talk to that younger version of yourself, what is some no nonsense advice you would give them to succeed in the game of life? And this could be either personally or business.
Believe in yourself more.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is working with so many people in so many different backgrounds, on so many different levels of success, so many people with very high level of education and resources, the one thing that commonly holds everybody back that they don't realize, because it goes under these soft skills that we're not putting enough emphasis on in our schools and in our personal lives, is belief. Women are starting businesses 3.5 to 1 to men right now. That's a pretty profound rate, right? They're graduating 2 to 1 to men from universities, yet they're still creating less than 3% of the wealth.
Wow.
That's staggering, right? So why is that? That's because of a belief system still around money and around self-worth. And unless we actually make that our top priority and stop focusing on all the tactical skills, because we have plenty of ability in the United States, especially, to resources of knowledge. So it's not knowledge that we're lacking. It's not technology resources that we're lacking at this moment. It's belief system that we're lacking, which is a campaign that I'm working on and hope to bring it to light in a profound way in the very near future, called I'm Worth It. And I'm Worth It is a campaign to raise men and women's, but specifically women's sense of self-awareness and belief system around self-awareness and how it impacts our success in every aspect of our lives, how it impacts our success in our relationships, in personally and also professionally. And if you can't believe, I mean, this is what's so perfect. This is what DreamItAlive is all about, yep. Right? It's about the belief system that what you're putting on this vision board you can have, because you can make as many vision boards as you want all day long. You put all the most incredible things in the world on it. But if you're putting them on there thinking to yourself, yeah, this will never really be me, I'm just going through this exercise, then you're not going to achieve it. And in your introduction on DreamItAlive, it talks about putting emotion into that board. You have to put that emotion. That emotion is belief. That emotion is worthiness. And if you don't have that emotion attached, that belief attached to these boards that you're creating, then you're going to be one of those people who say, yeah, I've tried visualization before, it doesn't work. Because everyone that I know who's tried visualization with a sense of belief that they're worthy of having what they're putting on that board, they will achieve it.
Love it.
If not, they'll achieve something better.
Amen to that. Last question is, for 2015, what is on your dream board? What are the things that you want to achieve? Assuming that if someone got to see your dream board right now, what are those things that you want to achieve?
One, that's a hard one. One of the top things I want to achieve is a television show, my own television show, that gives me a platform to talk about all of these things that we just talked about, and also what's going on in the state of the world today in a voice that is not being really heard from right now, with perspectives that are being squashed and diminished by gatekeepers, to really help heal the world, to help create a greater sense of happiness and inner peace and just a greater sense of life. And I know that it exists. I know that I know how to communicate that. And I know that it makes an impact based on the people I work with on a daily basis. So I want that megaphone to be larger so that more people can live a fulfilled, happy life and maximize their own potential and powers.
That's amazing. Well, Jen, I am so excited to have you on this show, and I have a feeling we're going to have you again in the near future. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for inspiring many people. It was really beautiful to see all the comments that a lot of people put on Instagram and Facebook when we had promoted this interview, and I could see now why so many of them are there. I know this is the first time you and I have had more than a 5-minute conversation, and I'm really glad I got to know who you are, and continued success with everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I would love to just interject one last thought, please. Going back to one of your questions about, a belief system or a breakthrough moment that I had. That was actually probably one of my most profound ever, and I missed sharing it with you, so I'm going to share it quickly. While I had this idea journal filled with ideas, I had all these grand visions for my life in emancipating to a place that's really believing in my own worth and myself. I realized that my sense of fear was holding me back, and that fear of failure is crippling to so many people. For me, it was my fear of failure. For some people, it's fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. Those are the top fears that hold people back from hitting their potential. And I created a new mantra around fear for myself so that I could allow myself to let go of that old belief system and move into something more powerful. And the mantra was, I have more fear of regret than I have of failure. And I said that mantra to myself over and over and over and over again until I actually believed it in every cell of my soul, and it just became who I was. And having more fear of regret than failure, in those moments when you're facing uncertainty and you're afraid to pick up the phone and make that phone call or try something new or go to even a networking event by yourself because you're uncomfortable, it gives you power to think, what if at the end of my life this is something I look back and regret? That's a lot more painful than having I tried and didn't have the outcome I desired.
Love it. Wow. I'm like writing this stuff down. That's why you're probably hearing a little clicking sound. That's amazing. This is some divine knowledge. Wow. One quick question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One last thing. I guess I'm cheating. I'm going to ask you one more question. You said you have a book. You were talking about the book. Tell us a little more about that, and where can we get that if it's not out yet? Or if it is out, where can we get it? Or would you prefer we get it?
Sure. It is out. It's called What If and Why Not? And you can get it anyone can get it anywhere on Amazon.com.
Okay.
And it's about the psychology of what holds us back. So taking all those questions that we talk ourselves into, like, what if I fail? Teaching you how to shift that psychology to what if I succeed? And what does that look like? And what's that vision for my life in success versus failure? Or instead of, what if I don't have money to do this? What if you do and you just haven't thought about all the resources that you have in your life that might be non-traditional? So challenging old belief systems that would hold people back from being successful and teaching them how to flip them into something empowering versus being a victim.
Awesome. Well, Jen, I know we're short on time here, so I just wanted to again say thank you so much, and I really feel we're going to do another interview with you soon. So this isn't goodbye. This is just until I talk to you again.
Talk to you soon. Right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, I appreciate it. I love what you're doing, and I think it's amazing, and it definitely helps spread the word to people to empower themselves, to envision what they want for themselves, and then believe it can happen.
Thank you so much. I really mean that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay.